Haggai chapter 1. In the second year of King Darius, on the first day of the 6th month, the word of the Lord came through the prophet Haggai to Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, governor of Judah, and to Joshua, son of Jozadak, the high priest. This is what the Lord Almighty says. These people say the time is not yet come to rebuild the Lord's house. Then the word of the Lord came through the prophet Haggai. Is it a time for you yourselves to be living in your paneled houses, while this house remains a ruin? Now this is what the Lord Almighty says. Give careful thought to your ways. You've planted much, but harvested little. You eat, but never have enough. You drink, but never have your fill. You put on clothes, but you are not warm. You earn wages, only to put them in a purse with holes in it. This is what the Lord Almighty says. Give careful thought to your ways. Go up into the mountains and bring down timber and build my house, so that I may take pleasure in it and be honored, says the Lord. You expected much, but see, it turned out to be little. What you brought home, I blew away. Why, declares the Lord Almighty? Because of my house, which remains a ruin, while each of you is busy with your own house. Therefore, because of you, the heavens have withheld their dew, and the earth its crops. I called for a drought on the fields of the mountains, on the grain, the new wine, the olive oil, and everything else the ground produces, on people and livestock, and on all the labor of your hands. Then Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, Joshua, son of Jozadak, the high priest, and the whole remnant of the people obeyed the voice of their Lord their God, and the message of the prophet Haggai, because the Lord their God had sent him. And the people feared the Lord. Then Haggai, the Lord's messenger, gave this message of the Lord to the people. I am with you, declares the Lord. So the Lord stirred up the spirit of Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, governor of Judah, and the spirit of Joshua, son of Jozadak, the high priest, and the spirit of the whole remnant of the people. They came and began to work on the house of the Lord Almighty their God on the 24th day of the 6th month. Chapter 2. In the second year of King Darius, on the 21st day of the 7th month, the word of the Lord came through the prophet Haggai. Speak to Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, governor of Judah, to Joshua, son of Jozadak, the high priest, and to the remnant of the people. Ask them, who of you is left who saw this house in its former glory? How does it look to you now? Does it not seem to you like nothing? But now be strong, Zerubbabel, declares the Lord. Be strong, Joshua, son of Jozadak, the high priest. Be strong, all you people of the land, declares the Lord, and work, for I am with you, declares the Lord Almighty. This is what I covenanted with you when you came out of Egypt, and my spirit remains among you. Do not fear. This is what the Lord Almighty says. In a little while I will once more shake the heavens and the earth, the sea and the dry land. I will shake all nations, and what is desired by all nations will come, and I will fill this house with glory, says the Lord Almighty. The silver is mine and the gold is mine, declares the Lord Almighty. The glory of this present house will be greater than the glory of the former house, says the Lord Almighty. And in this place I will grant peace, declares the Lord Almighty. On the 24th day of the 9th month in the second year of Darius, the word of the Lord came to the prophet Haggai. This is what the Lord Almighty says. Ask the priest what the law says. If someone carries consecrated meat in the fold of their garment, and that fold touches some bread or stew, some wine, olive oil, or other food, does it become consecrated? The priest answered, no. Then Haggai said, if a person defiled by contact with a dead body touches one of these things, does it become defiled? Yes, the priest replied, it becomes defiled. Then Haggai said, so it is with this people and this nation in my sight, declares the Lord. Whatever they do and whatever they offer there is defiled. Now give careful thought to this from this day on. Consider how things were before one stone was laid on another in the Lord's temple. When anyone came to a heap of 20 measures, there were only 10. When anyone went to a wine vat to draw 50 measures, there were only 20. I struck all the work of your hands with blight, mildew, and hail, yet you did not return to me, declares the Lord. From this day on, from this 24th day of the 9th month, give careful thought to the day when the foundation of the Lord's temple was laid. Give careful thought. Is there yet any seed left in the barn? Until now, the vine and the fig tree, the pomegranate and the olive tree have not borne fruit. From this day on, I will bless you. The word of the Lord came to Haggai a second time on the 24th day of the month. Tell Zerubbabel, governor of Judah, that I am going to shake the heavens and the earth. I will overturn royal thrones and shatter the power of the foreign kingdoms. I will overthrow chariots and their drivers, horses and their riders will fall, each by the sword of his brother. On that day, declares the Lord Almighty, I will take you, my servant, Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, declares the Lord, and I will make you like my signet ring, for I have chosen you, declares the Lord Almighty. In this video, we're going to be talking about worthy servants, the servants who are chosen by the Lord, the workers who are chosen to go out into the field. Luke 14, verse 25. Large crowds were traveling with Jesus, and turning to them, he said, If anyone comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even their own life, such a person cannot be my disciple. And whoever does not carry their cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying, This person began to build and wasn't able to finish. Or suppose a king is about to go to war against another king. Won't he first sit down and consider whether he's able with 10,000 men to oppose the one coming against him with 20,000? If he's not, he will send a delegation while the other is still a long way off and will ask for terms of peace. In the same way, those of you who do not give up everything you have cannot be my disciples. Salt is good, but if it loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is fit neither for the soil nor for the manure pile. It's thrown out. Whoever has ears to hear, let them hear. I want you to pay careful attention to what I'm going to reread, because these are stipulations in your covenant. The first thing I want to say is that a disciple is simply a student of God. All of us are required to be a disciple. I know that there are some who believe that, I just want to be saved. I'm good. I don't actually want to be your disciple. That's not an option. If you are in Christ, you have to be a disciple. If anyone comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even their own life, such a person cannot be my disciple. Now, remember in a prior video, I explained to you that hate in this context is to set second. God set Esau second to Jacob. So this is not a direct English translation. What he's saying is no one can come before him. And whoever does not carry their cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. And then he goes on to explain his process in a way, or give us a metaphor for understanding his process in choosing, in selecting those workers. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying, This person began to build and wasn't able to finish. Or suppose a king is about to go to war against another king. Won't he first sit down and consider whether he's able with 10,000 men to oppose the one coming against him with 20,000? If he's not able, he will send a delegation while the other is still a long way off and will ask for terms of peace. In the same way, those of you who do not give up everything you have cannot be my disciples. Salt is good, but if it loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is fit neither for the soil nor for the manure pile. It is thrown out. Again, I explained to you in a previous video that salt was used for preserving and seasoning the sacrifices, the salt of the covenant. And so what is the salt of the covenant? It is preserving the covenant. It is seasoning the covenant. You're also called the salt of the earth, because in preserving that covenant and maintaining righteousness and obeying his commands, doing the things that he has said that we need to do, God does not destroy the earth. But when we start to turn from that and we don't return to him, he begins to destroy the earth. And so the only reason the earth has not been destroyed is because of his people. He spares the earth on account of his people. But when his people lose their saltiness, when they turn from him, he's going to destroy the earth. And he says, in the same way, those of you who do not give up everything you have cannot be my disciples. Later today, I'm going to upload a video, as per request, regarding the stripping process that God does when he is building his disciple, when he's building his worker. But in this video, I'm going to talk with you about becoming a worthy servant and what is required in order to be a worthy servant. If you have a property and you are trying to find workers, contractors, you are going to look for certain things. You're going to look for those who are reliable, who are honest, who are invested in the work. They're invested in the cause rather than themselves. Those who do what they say and do it right, they do it correctly. Those who are prudent, so they don't come onto your property and start disrespecting your property by breaking things. They come in to fix one thing and break 5 things. So they're not trampling down and disrespecting what's already there, because that ends up being intrusive and the work is never ending. Likewise, we are not going to enter into God's temple, working on building his temple and bringing our own issues that are going to trample down the work that's already been laid, the foundations that have already been laid. We're not going to come in with our own issues and start destroying a brother or sister with our issues. We're not going to make it about us, our glory, our reward, our ministry, because we'll be submitted to his cause and his desires, what he knows is good and right, how he designed us, what he set us apart for. We're going to be focused on his purpose, but the only way that we can know what his purpose is in us as individual members of that body or that crew is for us to receive that from him. We're not going to be trampling what's being done with our own issues, with our own agenda. Like I said, destroying a brother or sister, making our own doctrine, running on what he dispenses to us to make our own message, our own ministry for our own glory. And in order to do all of these things, in order to be this type of a worker, we have to stay very prudent and attuned to his spirit, to his instruction, if we want to be used. And so often, if not every time, we will receive a thorn or an affliction to keep our flesh from rising in ways that it did previously, in ways that if he didn't afflict us, it would rise again. I've shared with you in previous videos that God healed me from many afflictions that had been given to me in order to call me in order to deal with me on my sin. He removed those. But there is a cough that continues. And the reason why that cough continues, and first of all, the reason why I know that cough continues is because he's talked with me about it. The reason why that cough continues is to slow me down and to keep me attuned and to keep me in him rather than running on my own will, because that was a big issue for me previously. I was always moving really fast. I had a strong body. I had a mind that processed quickly, but those things were of no use to him. They became a hindrance because the enemy was able to compel my flesh in such a way that I was constantly using that to get ahead of him. I was always moving so quickly or thinking so quickly and multitasking and producing, being a machine for the world, that I could not hear him. I could not hear him unless I was brought low. And so in order for God to do the work through me that he does now, he keeps me low through this cough. He gives me the cough so that I can't speak too quickly. And if I can't speak too quickly, that slows down my thought process. And if my body is weak, I can't be doing 5 million things. I got to slow down and choose, what am I going to do today? It's frustrating still for me. It's still, honestly, it is frustrating because my flesh wants to produce. And yet the bottom line is that nothing that I produced previously was of use to God or even of use to me, to be honest. It worked completely against me. God does not need me to be strong in the flesh in order to provide. And that certainly doesn't serve his temple. It does not make me a good worker. So I have to be willing to accept that and to do what I need to do to, maybe it's not entirely comfortable. I'm not going to lie. This is not comfortable. What I feel in my body and when I'm coughing, it is not comfortable. I liked having a body that could eat whatever it wanted and, do whatever it wanted. I liked that. But God knows what's good. He knows what's needed. He knows what's going to be of use to him. And because I believe that, I accept this. And because I get to reap the benefits of God's power resting on me, his wisdom that is bestowed to me, I'm not going to say I always rejoice, but I rejoice when that happens. I rejoice because that is what I get to experience and the way that I get to be used for his glory. So ultimately, I'm rejoicing in it. I certainly 100% would not choose what I had before over what I have now with him. Not for 1 second would I choose that. So to be honest, I got a little frustrated last night with some of the things that he afflicts me with. And the reason I'm sharing that with you is because that might be the case for you. And it helps to hear that others who go before you experience that. Rather than wondering, what the heck is this? Rather than wondering, am I crazy that I think that God gave this to me? Yes, God gives that to you. He's given it to many people in the Bible. David and Paul were two people who were constantly afflicted. Jeremiah was another. And there is a reason why we're told that we have to suffer for Christ. The other reason I'm talking with you about this is that you need to understand how God is going to build you. God is not building us according to the way that the world builds us, to be a machine, to be moving quickly, to be, performing within our flesh. He builds us in our spirit. Remember that the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So he's not going to talk to a part of us, first of all, that's weak. Second of all, that fights against him. He's going to work with our heart. He's going to speak to our spirit. And all of the things that were of use to the world are not going to be of use to him. You creating and planning and making lists and, drawing up what it is that you're going to do, imagining what God wants from you, that's not what he's going to use. And those people are a dime a dozen. There are plenty of people, I know plenty of them, people also who contact me. This is something that people say oftentimes when they contact me. I'll do anything to heal, but they cannot slow down. They are like an over-caffeinated spider on a hot plate, pulled in every single direction. Their minds are going 1,000,000 miles an hour. And although they say that they will do anything to heal, they will not do the one thing that God requires of them, which is to return in heart and spirit. They cannot sit still because they're too busy tackling everything in their flesh. And they attempt to have a relationship with God in their flesh. And they attempt to fabricate a ministry in their flesh. And that is the reason why they will not be used by him as long as they're living there. They can't be used by him as long as they're living there. It's also the reason why, if they're going to be used by him, they're going to have to be brought into position. Like myself, they're going to have to be brought low so that they will actually attune, so that they will actually listen, so that they will actually slow down. He's going to have to break their flesh. When I started to hear God in the way that I hear him now, that was 3 years ago on September 9th. Only 3 years ago on September 9th. I had been in a situation where I was in bed for 22-hour days. I could get up for about 2 hours and move very, very slowly. Because if I moved too quickly, I would break out in welts, I would vomit, or I would pass out. There were days that I could not shower, or it was all I could do to get up and fix myself something to eat. The one food that I could eat without all of these other symptoms. When he began talking with me, I was completely broken. My flesh was completely broken. And I remember that when I was going through that, where I could hardly even move, he said to me, "You will rest." Look, he didn't take away the choice. If I moved quickly, I was going to pass out, break out in welts, or throw up. He didn't completely remove the choice, but he did tell me what I was being dealt with on. That I never sat still, I never could be with myself, and I could never be with him. Because if you can't be with your own self, your own relationship, you're not going to be able to be with him. If you can't get quiet, you will not be able to hear him. I don't say that from judgment. I say that from personal experience. So the other thing I want to say to you is don't deceive yourself. If you're not hearing from God, you're not being used by him. You can do all the things that you think are good, but you're not being used by him. He's the one who's going to enact that through you. And if he's not ministering to you and you're not going through a stripping process of giving up all of the things of the world, the stripping process that, by the way, I've talked with you about, he's still stripping me 3 years later because I don't even know all of the things that I need to be stripped of. I don't even know how to get myself in the position to be stripped of those things. He's got to do it over time, and he's the one who knows how he's going to do that. If we don't know how we're going to be used by him, we don't know how to get ourselves there. It has to be him who gets us there. Our job is to be invested in the cause, reliable, honest, willing, prudent, respecting his property, respecting his temple, the temple in us and the collective temple. If we just show up to that temple and we start doing things and we haven't even asked him, how do you want to use me? What part of this do you want me to build? We're going to start messing things up. We're going to start putting holes and nails into things that don't belong there. We're going to start trampling the work that others have been doing based on his instruction. We're going to start standing in authority that has not been given to us, sharing messages that are not of him, diluting and distorting his word. We're going to make it about us, about our glory, about our reward, about our reputation and our ministry. And we're not going to get it, because I can tell you from personal experience that none of this has anything to do with me. There is no glory in this for me in this life. There is no reward for me in this life. This is not my ministry. And I don't know what God has me doing from day to day. I have to wake up every day and receive that. And sometimes he wakes me up and tells me, like this morning, he woke me up and started talking to me in my dreams before I even opened my eyes. But because I've become attuned to his spirit and I know the way he speaks to me, I knew what the dream meant. I knew what he was saying when I woke up. I know what he's been building in me over a series of months, weeks, and days. So even though I didn't know yesterday where he was going to take me today, I knew today when he started talking to me. I knew how that fit in with where he's been leading me. And if you have been listening to this channel, you see how God has been moving me from one thing to the next and deepening the message and bringing the picture together. You see his process in me because I share it with you exactly how he builds it in me, because that's what he taught me to do. I don't mince words. I don't add my own message to it. I stand on the word. I do what he has commanded. If you listen to this channel and you're seeing what's going on, he should be witnessing and testifying that to you so that you can understand that process and how important it is for us to be attuned to him if we're going to be used by him. God is not evaluating how many people he can collect for this crew, for this army. And even though he says in the scripture, will you not examine whether you can come against an army of, what did he say, 20,000 with an army of 10,000? Don't misunderstand. God is not trying to collect people, because it's not by power or might or quantity. It's by his spirit that he's going to build this temple. It's by his spirit that he's going to harvest in. What he's looking for is the quality. He's looking for those who have a heart for him, who actually have a relationship with him. And that's the reason why he says, many are going to say to me, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? Did we not eat with you? Did we not do all of these things? And he's going to say, away from me, depart from me, evildoers. I never knew you. He has to know you. And the way he's going to know you is by you choosing to be in relationship with him. He won't know you any other way, and you won't know him any other way. So please today take some time to examine where you're going too fast, where your mind is racing, where your body is headed, what's occupying your mind, because you need to understand that that is coming from your heart. If your body is activated, if your mind is trying to figure out what does God want you to do, I'm going to tell you what he wants you to do. He wants you to get quiet, and he wants you to submit, obey, and rely. It's a different kind of work, isn't it? Because we know how to work in our flesh, but that's like, oh man, you got to put the kill switch on the flesh. It's the opposite of what we've been taught in the world. It's the opposite of what people mean when they say, I'll do anything. God's not asking you for works, is he? He's asking you for submission, obedience, and reliance. And if you do those things, then he's going to minister to you, and then he will minister through you. If you do not do those things, if you're not relying on him, you don't trust him. And if you don't trust him, you can't possibly believe in him. If you're not obeying him, you don't believe in the message that he brought. You don't believe in the things that he said. If anyone wants to be my disciple, here are the things they need to do. If you don't submit to him, you don't believe that he's the one he says he is. You don't believe he's sovereign. You don't believe he's right. You don't believe that he knows better than you. And you don't believe that you have been created and designed as a vessel for him. You are still believing, as the world does, that you occupy yourself, that you accomplish by the work of your hands, that you know better than him. That is what belief in God is. Obedience, submission, and reliance. Obedience, submission, and reliance. If you are doing those things, you believe. If you're not, you don't believe in him, and something needs to change. You need to return. You need to become a worker that can be useful to him. And the only way that you can be useful to him is if you hit the kill switch on your flesh and you become as he wants you to be. As he wants you to be, not do. When you become as he wants you to be, you will naturally do what he wants you to do, because that will be coming from your heart. Remember that it's your heart that he wants, and when he has worked with your heart, then that's going to come out of your mouth. It's going to come out of your right hand, your deeds, and it's going to occupy your mind. That is the order of things. So you have to receive him in your spirit and your heart. I hope that this has come together for you, the things that I've been talking about for, a while now. I'm tackling it from different angles, and really not me, but the Lord is doing that. He's the one who's saying, okay, you spoke about the harvest. That's what you've been talking about. Now I want you to talk about my temple today. It's all the same thing, but he gets at it from different angles so that we can understand from different angles, because we get a different piece, right? You get a different piece when I'm talking about you as one who is harvesting in. Then you understand from the metaphor of working in a field or working in a garden. when we're talking about being a contractor or a worker on God's temple and you're building God's temple, now we're getting at a different piece, right? We're talking about some work ethic today. We're talking about something that you are engaged in building, but that you have to receive from your foreman first what you're going to go out there and do, or you're just going to start putting holes and nails into everything and you're going to mess it up. Listen, I know that might sound harsh, but there's a lot of people out there messing things up, and they're convinced that they're doing his work, and they're not. They're leading his people astray, and they're not healed, but they're not admitting it because now it's their livelihood. They've made a business. They know they're not healed because they're referring to themselves as depressed, or they're overweight, or they have pornography addictions. Man, if I had $1 for every pornography addiction in ministry, in pastoral care that comes across my desk, so to speak. And their home life is a disaster. They're on the brink of divorce. Their children have addictions. This is not the fruit of a person who's receiving from God. It's not the fruit of a person who believes in him, who is obeying, submitting, and relying. They are convinced that they're doing God's work, and they're doing the opposite. They are messing up his temple. They are leading his people astray. There is no healing for the daughter of his people. And it's not because knowledge isn't accessible. It's because they've rejected it. And they're leading God's people into idolatry of man because they speak on their own authority for their own glory. They are not invested in the cause. They are concerned for self, their own reward, their own ministry. And they think they're very creative. You know, you look at David Jeremiah wrote this book, even though the word says, don't add to the scroll. Anyone who adds to the scroll, let them be accursed. And he writes this book on Revelation, adding names, evolving the story. And I listened to him read that book, and he thought he was very creative and just so tickled over this book, not even realizing that he is literally adding to the scroll. Or you look at the people who are doing the show, The Chosen, who ridiculously are claiming that there are miracles happening on set. And they maybe think that, I mean, I don't know how you could think that you're doing God's work when you literally are saying that you're evolving his character, like you have any authority to do that. But maybe they think they're doing God's work. And there are people who are watching those shows who think that they're watching something good. There are people who are singing Hillsong and Bethel and Elevation lyrics, not even thinking that they're doing something good, thinking that they're singing worship to God, and they don't even recognize that they are singing false lyrics against God, and that they're ingesting those lyrics and they're meditating on them when they're singing, and they don't even realize that they are singing false doctrine against God. So understand that if you are not in the right posture, if you don't put the kill switch on that flesh and you don't receive him in the place that he has told you to receive him through obedience, submission, and reliance, you run the risk of coming into a construction zone and messing up the temple of God. Please take this message seriously. Please understand that the work of God is this: to believe in the one he sent. That is exactly what Christ said when he was asked, what is the work that God requires of us? He responded to the people to believe in the one he sent. If you believe, this is exactly what you will do. You will get into the heart and spirit. You will kill the flesh, and you will submit. You will obey. You will rely. You will shut down anything that is standing in the way of that. All of those thoughts about, oh, this is my calling and this is how I need to do that and this is how I'm going to make money from that. You will kill that. Kill it. Get rid of it. You don't have any ability to know what God set you apart for unless you receive that from him. You can write out your vision. In Heart Known series, I talk about that, you writing out your vision, but I also talk about a posture of the heart. and I teach you how to do that. And you can write that out and you can submit it to God. And then when you submit it, what you're doing is you are letting it go and you're saying, okay, these are the ideas that I have, but I know that you know better. That's perfectly okay. He requires you to engage with him. He wants that process with you. So if you need to get it out on paper, then get it out on paper. But then you need to submit it. You understand what you're doing when you submit it? You're saying, I'm not the boss, you are. What do you want from me? Now that I've written these out and I've shared with you, I'm ready to receive what you actually want. Thank you for listening. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video.